Hello, I'm Vengeance. And you are?
I'm Dylan. I was going to go with Vengeance, but that's good.
Okay. This is the fun of improv.
Yeah.
And we are here to talk about spoilers for Matt Reeves' The Batman. We did a first video about our opinions about Batman as a character, as a franchise, and that'll be linked below if you haven't seen it. You can watch it first to get our predictions and then our actual spoiler-free review at the end. But this is going to be a spoiler discussion, and whenever we get into spoilers, I'm going to give you a visual cue. It's also going to be a face reveal, so that should get your attention probably. Okay, so Dylan, got any remarks before we start?
No, not.
Okay. But thank you for agreeing to come back.
Oh, yeah, man. I appreciate it, man. It's always fun to be here.
Yeah. And you're just always interested to see what crazy costume I have on in this video.
Yeah, because it's always a surprise every time.
Yeah. Okay, so we good?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to do spoilers, and hopefully I can pull this off decently.
Without destroying it.
Yeah.
Does that feel better?
Yeah. Yes.
Do a video without a mask on?
Yeah. Yeah. No more lies.
Yeah, no more lies.
Unmask the truth. Whatever else the taglines are for this movie, I don't remember. Okay, so last time I did a lot of questions for Dylan, and then he did some observations, and I kind of went back and forth with that. This time Dylan's got a lot of questions for me, and then he'll chime in with his thoughts too after I give mine. So Dylan, go ahead and take us away.
Oh, okay. So far, who do you think has been the best Catwoman?
Interesting.
And that can be animated or live action, doesn't matter.
Okay. A lot to think about with that one because we got Michelle Pfeiffer, iconic Tim Burton version. We've got Anne Hathaway in Dark Knight Rises, underrated version, in my opinion. I do like her a lot. And Zoe Kravitz, I mean, I had a feeling I would like her just because I like Zoe Kravitz as an actress, but I was like, when I watched the movie, it's kind of funny in the trailer. There's some lines I'm like, that's a little cheesy. Like I don't know, I don't know if that's gonna work. And I don't know. She just like vibes with that part of the character where it's a little cheesy, but not too much. But she does it, and she does the serious stuff really well. So Zoe Kravitz is definitely up there, I think.
Yeah, I liked her as Catwoman, but I feel like Anne Hathaway still has to be my favorite. Okay. And the main moment that did it for me, you remember when she's in the bar and then she gets in that brawl, she shoots two people and then she does that roll and then the SWAT breaks in and she just starts screaming, and then when they go past her, she just stops screaming and then just like walks out. That is just some really good acting right there. I mean, just like how quick she switches. Yeah. I just thought that definitely deserves a good man.
Yeah, one of my in the Dark Knight Rises with her, I've always thought was funny, even though it's kind of a Batman cheesy line, is when she's got the stiletto heels on and she puts it to the guy's neck against the wall, and he's like trying to talk but he can't. She's like, "What's the matter? Cat's got your tongue?"
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's good. That's good. I like that, where it's a little comic booky, but it's also funny.
So who do you think is the best looking Catwoman?
Best looking as in costume, as in actress, or
costume. Like all of it.
Costume. That's interesting because like Michelle Pfeiffer with where she just stitched together the vinyl and like put it like as skin tight as possible. Apparently that was a nightmare to film in, according to what she would say. What she said behind the scenes, and I can imagine why, because it's literally just like barely stitched together.
Yeah. That looks like that'd be super hot too. Like, I mean, just like you'd be just sweating, like that, whatever that's made out of.
Yeah. makes you hope that she was in like a cold environment where it's like, because it's in the winter in that movie, so
it looked like it was cold.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, I do about Anne Hathaway's in Dark Knight Rises. The one little detail I've always really liked, even though I think the stiletto heels are ridiculous. I don't really like that with Catwoman, but the ears with her version with the mask, and it has they're actually like binocular type things that she flips forward, but when she's not wearing them like that, they're like cat ears.
Yeah, that's definitely cool. Yeah,
that was an inventive way to do it, kind of realistically, and still look like the character. Zoe Kravitz I really like because it's literally just like a beanie with the hole cut out for her eyes.
Definitely got that whole maid vibe going on. Yeah.
And how it's always tucked just the way to where there's two little points there that looks like a little bit like cat ears.
Yeah.
So I like the practicality of that one too.
I think all together best looking for me would have to be the original one. That is it. Julia Newmar, is that how you say her name?
Yeah, from the '60s show.
Yeah,
I gotcha.
She makes the cake moist. Like she is the original, man. Like I think she was the very first one, right? In
live action. I think so. I think so because they were like 1930 and 1940s like Batman serials, but. I don't think Catwoman ever appeared in those.
Yeah, just the way she walked on screen, just in that suit. Yeah, puts the icing right on the cake. That's for sure. Am I still asking you questions or?
Yeah, go ahead. Okay. We'll get through some questions.
Right, who do you think so far has been the best Penguin? Now we've only got like 2 live action.
Well, 3 if you count Burgess Meredith in the '60s.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I do like all 3 of them, just kind of for different reasons. Burgess Meredith because he's like the '60s Penguin in the comics, with the little elegant cigarette thing and top hat and monocle. Yeah. I do like the look, even though it's very of its time. Mm-hmm. Danny DeVito is really interesting to talk about because
did you know when he was at that scene where he's like gnawing on that fish? That's a real fish that he's gnawing on. That's a real
that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean that's some real commitment to acting. Just he's like just on that fish. I didn't know it was raw till I looked it up, and he apparently wanted to do it raw because. DeVito.
Yeah, and then that's kind of like Leo in The Revenant with the buffalo or whatever that is that he's eating in that scene. Like he was actually biting into raw meat for that scene. Yeah. But I like Danny DeVito's version, even though I don't want to sound sacrilegious. It might be a little too Burton-esque.
Yeah, I get it.
Like I do like the flipper hands. That's kind of an interesting idea, even though it's
because in the comic book Penguin, he's got hands. He doesn't have.
He's normally just like a gentleman, like a well-dressed gentleman, and everything. And then Burton just wanted to make him like as penguin-ish as possible. And I do like that he lives with penguins in the sewers and the zoo.
Yeah, I think I like the rocket launchers on the bag. They're like his henchmen. Yeah, that was kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah. It's but like it's insanely. That's an insanely dark penguin, though.
It is. Yeah, because his parents just. Yeah.
You just yeeted him off of a bridge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then the fact that he bites the dude's nose off in front of everyone, and the blood just spurts everywhere. I was like, that's a little much.
Yeah.
But now on to Colin Farrell. I really do like him. The makeup work is incredible with that.
It just doesn't look like him. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't mean to sound weird, but like he's a good-looking dude. So for
100%
like for them to do that to make him look like unattractive, I mean, I look like that was pretty hard. Because I still look at it and I'm like, that's not Colin Farrell. It doesn't look like it.
Yeah,
it's pretty impressive.
And like it's not as cartoony as like the differences between him and a normal person as Danny DeVito's, because Danny DeVito has like the really pointed nose and everything, and he has a little bit of a point like this kind of, but it's not as pronounced.
Yeah, he looks like the Penguin, but he looked like he just maybe got into a wreck or got the crap beat out of him, so it kind of disordered his face to look kind of different. It puts it in that if it was realistic, what would somebody in real life look like if they were somewhat the Penguin, but not exactly like the Penguin?
Right.
You know? And I just thought that was another cool thing that Matt Reeves did on making the Batman realistic as he could.
And just like a couple little details, because he's a gangster, and I like this, is that he has like facial scars, like right here.
Yeah.
Where he looks like he got in a knife fight with somebody or something. And I don't think Penguin normally has many like facial scars on stuff, but I thought that was a good addition. He also has a gold tooth, I think, like right here or something. His teeth are kind of pointy looking, just the angle that they're shown at. It kind of makes me think of Joe Pesci from Home Alone, if you remember that, what that look looks like. Kind of makes me think of that. So I like that aspect. He really, since he's, we're in spoiler discussion, he's still the Penguin at the end of the movie. He's still alive, and he is going to, take charge over Gotham's crime syndicate and everything. I think that they're doing, a full-on Arkham City Penguin, which is probably my favorite Penguin. Mm-hmm. And that one has, some facial scarring and stuff, but that one's more extreme because you know how he has a monocle in the comics, and they do their own version of that, but instead of him wearing a monocle over his eye, somebody busted a glass bottle and stabbed it in his
eye socket.
Yeah. So he has a permanent that's stuck in his head.
Oh, that's cool.
But it's it's a cool tribute to the comic, and it's super brutal. And I was that's a cool detail that you could give. I'm not saying stab a broken bottle in Colin Farrell's face, but but that's
at least make it somewhat like that. Yeah.
And doesn't have to do a monocle. I've always been a fan of the monocle.
Yeah, it makes him look more classy, like a classy bad guy.
Yeah. An aristocratic criminal.
Yeah. Okay, more questions. So how do you feel about the new commissioner compared to Gary Oldman's commissioner? I don't want to say he's commissioner yet, but he eventually
lieutenant now, or detective. I don't remember which it is in this movie, but I really like Jeffrey Wright as an actor. Everything I've seen him in, I've really liked, and this is no exception to that. How he compares to Gary Oldman is kind of interesting. Because Gary Oldman, I don't know, just has the look 100% down.
It's the hair, mustache, glasses. Real simple.
And he's all the acting is really good from Gary Oldman. I like that. But what I think that Jeffrey Wright does differently, and it's always something that I think the Nolan movies never quite cracked, is the relationship between Gordon and Batman, the working relationship, where they're partners.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen where it seemed like they were really partners in any of them. I mean, you kind of do see that a little bit in the Dark Knight movies. I just don't think not as much.
Yeah, it's a scene per movie or so, but but this is the central point is those two working together on the case.
So how did you feel about when what do you think he means by when he said that he trained you? When he looks at Bruce and he's I taught you how to fight. So do you think he trained him instead of...
I'm talking about Alfred, right?
Yeah.
Alfred training Bruce. Mm-hmm. Okay, that is actually a good segue because I have a little bit of background that I didn't expect to have for this video, but I ended up having. There is a prequel novel to this book called Before the Batman, which is it's literally the same universe, just a few years earlier. and you see the backgrounds of the Riddler and Bruce, and you see them kind of coming into the characters that they are at the beginning of this movie. They're on that, talking about Alfred training Bruce, it actually does, like, there's certain parts of the book that talk about how they train together, because part of the story takes place when Bruce is like 17, and he's still like, he actually practiced with certain martial arts that Alfred knew from his time in the service. So he actually he learned like stuff that Alfred knew, and then later on he goes around the world and there are certain teachers that he's with that teaches him different types of fighting that Alfred didn't know. So he kind of like molds it all into his one style that he does as Batman. So I highly recommend that book if you guys can either pick up a physical copy or an audio book like I did. It's a really, I heard some people be really critical about it, but I think it's good. If you vibe with this Matt Reeves Batman, I think you'd like it.
Yeah. So what do you think is the best heroic moment in a Batman movie? Animated, live action, whatever.
I'm trying to think, like, a lot of the Batman movies, they don't really focus much on that. It feels like it's mostly this Batman kicking ass and then like tying up criminals and that kind of thing. This movie, though, Matt Reeves the Batman really, I think, nailed that at the last third act of this movie, when, spoiler, Riddler floods the city and it's like a disaster and everyone's trying to get out alive. Like, after Batman stops Riddler's, all the things that he's got in motion, it shows him like helping people out to safety, like to the helicopters, to get them to medical care, to get them to out of the flooded area. And I mean, and the scene, it's in the trailer, so you guys have probably seen it, but where he ignites the flare in the dark, and you see him, like the red light on everything. You see him, there's all these people in the water behind him. That's actually from the third act. I didn't know where it was from exactly, but it's him leading all the refugees of Gotham to safety, like to the roof of that building, so they don't drown. Yeah. That's really, like, visually it's really cool, but it's a really cool character moment too.
Yeah, that was my favorite moment too, when all that happened. But when you see him carrying the woman and he sets her down on the gurney,
the stretcher,
and he sets her down, and then she's got her hand on his arm, but she doesn't want to let him go. And then he like kind of like makes her feel comfortable, and then she finally like rests her head back.
I don't know, like, she's got a hold of him. I think he like does this or something and just nods to her, and then she is okay and lets go of him. But
Matt Reeves knew exactly what he was going for, and I really hope that when people see this, they realize that moment, like how heroic that is.
Yeah.
And that's just a really, really cool capture, because like a lot of directors, a lot of the previous ones have done really good with Batman, but that scene right there is just what really made a good hero scene for a movie.
And also in the third act, before that scene where the electrical wire is hanging down and it's going to electrocute everybody, and he rappels down with use the grapple gun down and grabs onto it, and then uses the bat symbol, which is a knife, which is really cool. He pulls it out, he cuts the cable, gets shocked by it really bad because the electricity. But then by doing that, and he falls down into the water, he's saving all these people from getting electrocuted while getting the shit shocked out of him at the same time.
And you know the look when the camera pans back to all the other characters and they're looking down at him? I swear right there, I was like, is he going to die? Mm-hmm. I was like, you can't kill him now. You're going to kill him and then make another one? I had no idea what was going to happen. That moment right there also kind of like put some heaviness to it, because, you really, to me, I thought he was going to die.
Yeah. I mean, there have been some rumors about sequels and stuff, but you never know what's true or not.
Yeah.
speaking of rumors, there is actually no tangible connection between this movie and Joker, Joaquin's Joker. I see why people thought that, though, because in both movies, Thomas Wayne is running for mayor and gets killed before he can become mayor. And I have a feeling that the leakers, they heard that and they may put two and two together. They thought that the clown guy that shot Thomas and Martha in Joker is the killer in this movie, the orphan Bruce Wayne. But it isn't, just so you guys know that.
Speaking of the Joker, so the last episode we did, you asked me what my favorite Joker was, and for some reason I said Jared Leto, and I cannot stand Jared Leto.
No,
as the Joker.
We were. I was joking, like you just went along with it.
Oh, okay.
That's why I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I for some reason I answered the question, and then when I watched the episode, I was like, wait, he's not my favorite Joker. Because when I rewatched the Batman, the one that had Michael Keaton, like it was a really hard choice between Jack Nicholson and Heath Ledger. Because just seeing Jack Nicholson redo that was just amazing. Like it was very, very on-screen comic book. And that was why I really liked that. But the way Heath Ledger did it was really good too. He seemed a lot more like a whole another level of some type of intelligence. Like the way he did everything and the way he planned.
In the comics, the Joker has this thing they call it a super sanity, where it's basically somebody has gone so beyond the realms of insanity that they understand like every possible way people can think.
Okay.
So he knows like exactly how to manipulate different people.
That makes
like
sense
that.
of the Joker. Yeah, okay, yeah.
That's just a little comic book knowledge that I thought was interesting. That they actually kind of addressed that in the comics, even though everyone's like, the Joker's always got everything way too well planned. But if he knows who his opponent is, I think I buy that he could do that.
Yeah. Okay, so another question I got is, and this is also a spoiler, how'd you feel about Falcone being Catwoman's dad?
Liked it.
Did you?
I think that there were just enough like breadcrumbs that you could put together that something like that was coming, but it wasn't ever blatantly obvious. Like you mentioned when he touches her head, like her face.
Yeah, it was very dad-like, but it was also just very weird at the same time because he's very controlling.
Yeah.
And it was just that's how it kind of came off as.
That is like a directly taken from the Long Halloween comic book storyline. Mm-hmm. It's not exactly the same because I think I think Selina's mom has a different name in the comic if I remember right, but that was a reference to that and something I don't remember who said this. I wish I could give credit, but somebody thought that they were gonna do like an Old Boy thing. I don't know if you know anything about that movie, but basically one of the it's a really shocking, disturbing movie. One of those twists in that movie is that a guy accidentally bangs his daughter. So they were kind of wondering if like Falcone didn't Falcone, sorry, in this movie it's Falcone, and so many other things it's Falcone.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, they were wondering like, does he know that she's his daughter, and does he think that she's hot or something? And that's like the face touching thing, because he's like I could have you at any time I wanted, or. If she was a kid that was raised in the crime world and everything, it's also kind of a grooming thing too.
Yeah, like and when she said that who her mom was and that she was his daughter, when she muzzled him, she turned around and looked at him, and when he looked at her, he looked kind of surprised. So maybe he didn't know. I don't know. Definitely when he did that, when we were watching it, like I leaned over at you, I'm like, dude, I think that's her dad.
Yeah, Mr. Detective over here, he did figure that out before it was revealed.
That scene right there, I'm like, dude, that's some weird dad vibes. Like,
don't be a stranger.
Yeah.
On the Falcone, though, John Turturro is so perfectly cast as this character.
Yeah, that threw me through a loop because I didn't think he could be serious. I like him, but as a comedy standpoint only, and not really. I can't think of anything I've ever seen him serious in.
His Coen Brothers movies are really good. Like Barton Fink, I don't remember if he won an award for that or something, but he's like a nerdy guy that gets involved with some dangerous people and that. Like he's good in that. Of course, with the Coen Brothers, he's also the Jesus from Big Lebowski.
I always think of that scene, where he's licking the bowling ball.
This is not Transformers John Turturro at all. Like this, this is him. This is what I think of. This is him, like menacing, ice cold, like he pretends to be comforting to people, but he's like manipulating them and making them think he's their friend, and then he's gonna shoot him in the back the second they, or choke them out. That seems to be his MO, like choking people to death. Yeah. I don't know.
It's definitely a lot more personal.
Yeah. And something that I didn't notice the first time, but I had forgotten this little detail about his character in the comics. He has a face scar right below his eye, right here, with like 3 scratches. And Catwoman gives him that in this movie when he's trying to choke her with the pool cue, and she like reaches up and like claws his face. Mm-hmm. That's such a small thing that.
I didn't even notice that.
I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
I didn't expect him to do something like that, but that was clever, I thought.
So, how did you think Paul Dano did as Riddler?
Good, like insanely good.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know what to expect exactly because I knew he was going to be menacing and just overall weird because it's the Riddler one and it's Paul Dano because they're both kind of known for being weird, but he cranked it up to a different level on this one. Like, I mean, the fact that he's like a Twitch streamer and he like Twitch streams all of his kills and then releases them to the police and to the news and everything. That's very, very twisted. He's kind of funny too because I just have a dark sense of humor. Like just some of the way the line delivery he does, like goodbye. Like that. And his laugh. That.
Yeah. He definitely crushed it. Like I'm really glad that he got a good chance to be in a really big movie and really show more of his acting. Mm-hmm. I always thought he was a really good underrated actor. I just don't feel like he's never got like that much attention, and I'm glad that now he's finally higher in that spotlight. I mean, maybe he always has, and not everybody's noticed, but
like the Joker movie from 2019, this film does it does kind of homages to older like crime thriller movies. His Riddler kind of reminds me of a few different characters. I think a lot of people put together the Jigsaw parallels with the traps like trapped on people's faces and all that. But he also reminded me of John Doe from Seven. Yeah. We don't need to talk about the actor that plays that, but the character is kind of similar, like crazy in that he thinks what he's doing is right. Morally and everything.
Yeah, it's kind of odd because I take Batman's side, but I also take the Riddler's side because he's killing corrupted people. So,
if a villain has a good motivation behind what they do,
you can side with him somewhat.
Yeah, and just by the way, we watched this again. We went to the theater and watched it again this time, so we'd have more to talk about, like more of a reaction. In this particular viewing, when he's in the interrogation, like he's in Arkham and Batman's on the other side of the glass, something about his performance reminds me. Have you seen the Green Mile?
Yeah.
Do you remember Sam Rockwell's character?
Yeah, he's the guy that he shoves the moon pie in his mouth, right? And then he the guard walks up to him and he spits it at him.
Or maybe it's been a while since I've seen that movie, but Billy the Kid, that's the character's name, because he's the psycho that actually killed the 2 kids that Michael Clark Duncan got blamed for. So it's like, maybe it's like the facial react, like, also when he's getting arrested and they have like his face against the table and he sees Batman through the window and he's smiling. I'm like, that just really made me think of Sam Rockwell from that movie.
Yeah, and that look that he gave him was crazy. Like, it was very, very scary, I guess. It's hard to explain. Like, when you watch it, you'll know what I'm talking about. Like the way he looks at Batman and the way they're looking at each other.
It's this creepy, obsessive, like fan type thing, fanboy kind of.
Yeah.
Also with the Riddler's, like, his musical theme be like heavily borrows from Ave Maria, and then he later starts singing it to Batman in the interrogation scene.
He's also
I'm
crying a little bit, like, because he's upset while he's doing it.
Yeah, I'm just like, I never thought that song could sound creepy as hell, but like whenever it's in his musical theme, and then when it's him actually singing it, it's just, man, it's unnerving.
And his singing actually isn't bad either.
Yeah, talking about the the prequel novel, the prologue, I think it is, it's like the first chapter of the book is called The Boy in the Choir. And it's literally like the flashback of what you saw in the movie as what was filmed for Thomas Wayne's mayoral thing. And you see like Bruce and Martha here, but then you see a kid with glasses in the background, and that's actually the Riddler. But you actually like see it from both Bruce's perspective and from his perspective, because they were both there at the same time. They like catch a glance at each other, and you kind of see what they're thinking in that exact moment.
That's cool. Okay, I only got a few more left. Okay, so what do you think he injected in his leg? Because it was green. So I don't think it's adrenaline.
Yeah, but I see where you're going with this.
What do you think it is?
You think he might have knocked and let the devil in?
I don't know. It made me wonder if it was adrenaline, but I don't know. It made me wonder what your thoughts were. I think it was some cabbage, cabbage juice.
No, I'm thinking it may be venom.
Venom.
Like Bane venom.
Oh. No, I like that.
Because remember whenever he injects himself, he like gets... he's like nearly beats that dude to death with his bare hands.
Yeah.
And that also reminded me of Logan, like the final part where Logan is running in the woods to go to save the kids from the mercenaries, and he takes the medicine, he injects himself with it. He's like, ah! And they just like goes primal rage and starts murking everybody in the woods.
I didn't notice this the first time I watched it, but the second time I noticed it. So the part where he gets down in the water, he's helping the people out, and he got shot twice by that shotgun. Did you notice that the buckshot imprint was, like the little holes? It was weird because it was on there when he was in the water, but then when he came out, it wasn't there anymore.
No, I didn't pay that close of attention. I did.
I was just looking at random stuff when we were watching it, since it was the second time.
Yeah, I did notice on his cowl there's like a part like right here that has a bullet hole, like by the end of the scene, where I don't know if it's like a slug from one of the rifles or if it's like a BB from the shotgun that hit his cowl. But I did notice that the second time.
Okay. And then, what do you think of the music score of this compared to all the other ones? I mean,
all of the Batman movies have really good scores.
Yeah, they all pretty much do. Yeah,
because
I don't think they've had any bad music.
Because you've got Danny Elfman and the Tim Burton ones. That's really good. Then you have Hans Zimmer and the Nolan trilogy, which defined a lot of music in movies at that time after it was released. And in the Zack Snyder, when he does his Batman stuff, it's Hans Zimmer, but it also has Junkie XL, who has like kind of an electronic sound. He's the guy who did Mad Max Fury Road score.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So it's like, so I really like all of that stuff, but Michael Giacchino on this is amazing. Yeah. Like every score I've ever heard from him is incredible, because he did I think this first time I ever associated his name with the music was in the Apes movies that Matt Reeves did.
Yeah.
Because there's like just piano pieces in those movies that like almost make me cry because of how emotional it is. And then this one just like it creates an atmosphere of tension so much in the different scores, but it's never like too loud and in your face. It's like kind of subtle the most of the movie, and then there's this big bombastic moments occasionally.
Yeah,
like,
it shakes the seats. Yeah.
Yeah, like when the Batmobile ramps through the thing and it explodes. Like that part's really loud. Yeah. Oh, and the sound design of the Batmobile is crazy in this. Like
another part, shake seats. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So that kind of gave me Christine vibes, actually. Just like a possessed car coming to kill you is kind of what it sounded like.
Okay, my last one is what's just a favorite Batman moment? Anything from anything. Like funny, serious, something you just liked, something.
One of my favorite moments, we'll go with this movie first, because that's mainly what people are here to listen about. The scene with him and Gordon in the police station.
Yeah.
And then like later on, whenever they meet up the next time, it's punch me in the face. Punch me in the face and take this and leave. Okay. And then runs, and then they meet up. He's like, you could have pulled that punch a little bit. He's like, I did. It's like, see, people say this movie's like dour and kind of like too serious. I'm like, it's got little moments that are really funny like that. That's one of my favorite moments in this movie. But I think one of my favorite character moments for Batman in anything, it's in Justice League Unlimited. I think it's and of course anybody who's watched the shows probably knows what I'm talking about immediately. It's this scene where there's a girl that has superpowers, like mental superpowers, and she's lost control of it, and it's basically Amanda Waller is there with Batman. She's like, we're gonna have to take her out. Like, she's become too dangerous. Because that's Amanda Waller. It's what she does. She just doesn't give a shit about anybody.
Yeah, she's a crooked bitch.
And Batman's like, no, she's a frightened child. I need to try to talk to her, try to figure out how we can handle this, because he knows that she's gonna die. Like, it's a terminal thing where it's kind of like, imagine like a critical mass and then exploding. It's kind of the same concept, but with her psychic powers, where if she doesn't die like peacefully, it could like wipe out a city basically. So it's like a kid that's accidentally been turned into a time bomb. And she's just this little girl, kind of creepy looking, honestly. Like, that's kind of what they were going for, because she's got weird mind powers. So they wanted to make her look, she kind of looks like Wednesday Addams but with short hair. And she's got like a white supervillain outfit on, but she's just sitting alone on the swing, like crying, because she knows that the government's got her boarded off. She knows that they're going to try to kill her. And then Batman just walks in very casually and sits next to her, like on another swing, and he just like talks to her, like
talks her down,
like a human, like a human being, And
I'll have to look that up so I can see that.
Ace is the character. His name's the little girl. And she's like she's crying. She's scared because she knows that she can't control her power anymore, and that either she's gonna die and kill everybody around her, or she's just gonna die. She knows she's gonna die, period. And then he holds her hand, and then you don't see the actual thing happen, but it's just like Batman literally sat there and held her hand as she died.
Yeah. That's a heavy moment. Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
I think, if I remember right, it's Justice League Unlimited. The episode is Epilogue.
Okay.
And it's actually a flashback to Ace, because we never saw what happened to Ace exactly. We just knew she wasn't around anymore. And it's Amanda Waller telling this to Terry McGinnis, who is the new Batman in the future. So a lot of lore to unpack with that one, but like that scene has always stuck with me because it showed how much Batman cared about people.
Yeah.
That he, even if they were dangerous, he wanted to try to help them to the very end. And he didn't know if he was going to be able to talk her down. Like, he very well could have died, just by doing that.
Well, that's all the questions I have for you.
Okay. I think we did good for that. I don't really have like questions, but I just have some observations I wanted to throw out there.
All right, hit me.
Okay, so we already went over the Ave Maria thing, because that's how the movie opens, with the Riddler's like point of view, look like spying on the family of the mayor, and then like that immediately is like, that's weird, kind of creepy. So I like that. I like that they used that throughout the whole movie. Like every time he's doing something kind of creepy, it did that.
Yeah, that was a very cool, like, on-screen moment when you know that this was the bad guy coming in.
Yeah, when we first watched it, I thought it was Batman.
Yeah. I see. I thought that was going to be Bruce Wayne, and then that was going to be his parents, type of thing. And I'm like, we're going to see the same story that we've seen a million times. And then it wasn't. I was like, wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, if you didn't see that coming like a carpeting tool to the back of the head.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that scene when Riddler first is revealed, like what he looks like, and with his mask on and everything in the mayor's house, when the flashes, and you see like those glasses in the background, but the mayor doesn't know he's there.
Yeah, you just stand there and
I just remember opening night when we saw that, like so many people jumped, like when the light hit him the first time. And normally with like a horror movie or something, when it does that, he kills somebody, like it's just like when you see the monster, they kill the person that they're stalking immediately, so they don't linger on them too much.
Yeah.
But I like the slow build of that one, because you're like, I know he's going to kill this guy, I just don't know when. I don't know what's going to trigger him to do it, or like what he's waiting for. But yeah, that was all. That whole thing was very effective and creepy. Thing I wanted to mention, talking about sound design, just through sound design, Batman is very intimidating in this movie.
Yes, very. Yeah.
We all know what he looks like. We've seen the trailers and the artwork and everything, but just the scene when he first comes out of the darkness, like, you don't see him for a while, but you hear him. You hear the boots, like, slowly coming your way.
Yeah.
And that reminded me of a couple of different scenes. You've seen Inglourious Bastards, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember the scene whenever Brad Pitt is interrogating the one Nazi, and then he's decided to not give any information, and he's like, Donnie, we got a German that wants to die for his country. Oblige him. And then you hear it's Donnie with the bat in the tunnel.
He's slapping it on his hand.
Yeah, but you don't see him for like a solid minute. You just hear the bat slapping as it's getting closer and closer, and then he comes out and just bashes the dude's head open with the bat.
Yeah.
I was like, that kind of made me think of that, because I'm like, I remember watching that in the theater, like how intense that was, because I didn't know, like, one, who Donnie was, two, I didn't know that was a baseball bat that I was hearing. I didn't know if that was like footprints or what I was hearing, but it's like, or maybe he was like knocking against the tunnel or something. I didn't know what it was, and then it was a bat. I'm like, oh shit, I know where this is going.
Right.
But yeah, I love everything with Batman, even though I don't know if he's the most scary looking Batman, of seeing, because I don't know, like Ben Affleck I think is terrifying, like when he's beating people up and like showing up out of nowhere. But the way that the way Pattinson plays it in this, and the way that it's subtle, like really subtle, and that is kind of creepy in a different way.
Yeah.
Some people, I don't know if it's Chris Stuckman or somebody, said that he was very Terminator-esque, like just...
It was kind of like he would never stop.
Yeah,
almost.
And like no matter how many bullets you shot into him, he would kept coming for you, and always grabbed you eventually and beat you half to death. So that, I think, that really left an impression. It also made me think of the editing choice in John Wick, the first John Wick, where it's the old gangster talking to his son about John Wick and the job that he did, and he keeps cutting back to John with a sledgehammer. Like everything is punctuated with a sledgehammer hitting the concrete. It's one of those things where it's like
making him into like a legend.
Yeah. And the Robert Pattinson's narration in that is kind of like the way he's telling the story of him becoming Batman. That kind of reminded me of that too. Where
I see that.
Just making the protagonist terrifying to the criminals and then to the audience by extension.
Yeah.
Okay, I mentioned the Joker, that there's no connection there. Something that we're talking about Michael Giacchino's score and everything like that worked amazing in this, but the song choice of Something in the Way by Nirvana and the way it's used in the movie as the opening and then at the end, near the end too, and how the song like takes on different meanings at that different points in the movie, that was really good. And I think it's still kind of a trope with trailers nowadays where there's a really good song in the trailer and then you watch the movie and it's not in the movie.
Yeah, and they do that a lot.
Yeah, but I think like Thor Ragnarok may have been the first one because it has the immigrant song in it, and then it's actually used in the movie in a couple different scenes. And that it's kind of like that with this song, where it's used at a couple of key moments where it...
Yeah, those key moments is when it felt heavy or it was getting...
Yeah. And I don't remember the exact lyrics. I think I looked it up once just to kind of see what other meanings there were. Where it's like, it mentions the tarp has sprung a leak and everything. That's kind of like telling, like at the beginning of the movie, it's like the things are starting to come unraveled and everything. And then all these animals that are trapped are now my pets is one of the lines, I think. And I think that perfectly describes like Batman's relationship with Gotham, like the criminals in Arkham Asylum, like the just the normal civilians, like where like they're all in this shitty existence together. But he's the one that's taking charge and looking after everyone. I thought that was really, and that I see why Matt Reeves chose the song, maybe because of that. And at the end, this is after Riddler has flooded the city too. So it's like sprung a leak. It's like when the seawalls explode and start flooding the city, and then everyone's together in the, I think it's called Gotham Square Garden in the movie, where it's just like that's the metaphorical tarp that Batman has the whole city under, because everyone's basically with him at the end. I just thought that was really interesting how much that inspired the filmmaking and the story structure and everything.
Yeah, he definitely did a good job of taking a song and making kind of go with heavy moments with the movie. And I mean, sometimes you see that and sometimes you don't. A lot of times you don't ever see that. But it was definitely... it sounds different from the original. It sounds better.
I think that Giacchino probably punched it up a little bit with film score, like just mixed in with it. There's good audio mixing between the two. But that just really struck me because I do listen to Nirvana occasionally, but I don't think I'd ever heard that song until the trailer came out, and I was like, that sounds like Kurt Cobain, but I don't remember that exact song.
Yeah.
But it made me a fan of that song, like looking into it.
I listened to it before that movie, but when I heard it from that, how much different it sounded, it made me wonder if somebody like redid it. You know, like the singing and all of it, and then I realized he just probably changed it or a little bit.
I think just audio mixing's kind of the thing, because whenever Samuel Kim is a YouTuber I follow, and he does like remixes of like scores and like mix and matching scores together, and he did like his own take on Something in the Way mixed with the Batman theme and everything. Like sound mixing does so much for films that I think, and with the trailer and everything, you know, they do the sound mixing for everything basically. But that's everything about the use of that song and the soundtrack just really worked for me.
Yeah.
So this may go over some people's heads. I don't know if anybody who watches this has ever seen a Dhar Mann video, but he's this YouTuber that makes all these like these anti-bullying type videos where the tagline is always like man bullies child, instantly regrets it. So I'd challenge myself to make like a tagline like that for this movie, and this is what I came up with. Mob boss creates 3 angry orphans. What happens next will surprise you.
Dude, that's pretty good. I like that.
Because we haven't gotten really into like the criminal conspiracy part of the storyline, but something about this movie, I knew there would be parallels between Batman and Riddler, because that just seemed like the way they were going. Mm. But what I didn't think of them doing is Catwoman. It's like all 3 of these orphans and how they are affected by Gotham City, and how Carmine Falcone basically effed every one of them over, and they're in different ways, because you've got like it's a mobster, so he creates orphans a lot, probably by killing people, but Selena, he literally created her because he's her dad.
Yeah.
Like, he literally creates her. He also had a hand, or at least it's heavily implied that he had a hand in killing Bruce's parents. So he made Bruce an orphan that way. And then, well, technically, the Riddler is an orphan, like, in the beginning, because he's in the orphanage. Like, because Carmine and everybody else stole the renewal funds from Thomas Wayne's original thing for the orphanage.
Okay, and that's what denied him his... Okay.
So what made his life a living hell and put him on a path to become a psycho, and wanting to implement all these plans that he has in the movie. But that blew me away when I really thought about it, that all 3 of them are connected by this one thing.
Yeah, I didn't get that connection. That's cool.
I was partially right with my prediction, but I was also proven wrong that there was a lot more to it than that.
Yeah.
So I did like that. This is just kind of a funny thing I thought is with them casting Rob Pattinson as Batman, about the villain choice is kind of interesting. Do you know where I'm going with this?
I think, but keep going.
Because do you guys know what the Riddler's first name is?
I don't.
Edward.
No, I didn't piece that together.
No, so we get Rob Pattinson versus Edward as the villain.
Okay.
So it's Edward Nashton, not Cullen, but I'm wondering if Matt Reeves is laughing to himself about this. Yeah. And maybe Rob didn't even think about it at first, but that's just because the character's always named Edward in the comics. Yeah. But it's just, I'm just like, that's a funny idea. Just just lampooning his career a little bit too. Okay, so talking about, since we're in plot spoilers and everything, the climax of the movie where it takes place in Gotham Square Garden, and the Riddler is in the asylum, so you think that his plot line is basically done at first until the interrogation scene happens. And Batman realizes that he missed a clue that he had left behind, that there was more to his plan. There's the seawall flooding, like causing the seawalls to go and flooding the city. That's one thing. That's also from a comic book. It's from Batman Year Zero.
Okay.
I didn't know that's it's from. I don't know if it's New 52 or Rebirth. It's one of the more recent, like the last decade or so. But yeah, but his end game, which was, it was in the promotional images, but it looked like the Riddler doing it. But you don't realize that it's the Riddler's henchmen, his followers, with the sniper rifles, like killing people or trying to kill as many people as they could.
I thought that was really interesting that he kind of had his own henchmen. Has that ever been a thing? Like in any comic books, anything?
I mean, I think every Batman criminal has thugs of some kind.
Yeah.
But the way he recruited them online and radicalized them, he had been radicalized by his situation, and then he radicalized other people through social media. And there's the scene in the district attorney's funeral, or it was the commissioner's funeral, and there's this picketing that's happening on the side of the road where it says "No more lies."
And some of them had the question mark on the signs.
Yeah, it's like he's influencing Gotham as a whole to try to end the corruption.
Yeah, and it looked like he noticed that when he was driving by. He kind of looked at him.
Mm-hmm. Also, just a question, at the funeral scene, where Bruce looks at the skylight, where the sun is shining through the window, and there are people up there, and there's one guy standing in the middle, staring at him, but you can't see his face because of the sun. Do you think that is actually the Riddler?
I think it is.
Okay,
that's my guess. I feel like it is.
Because he does the video call with Bruce or with Batman later that day. I didn't know if he could get from there to where he was in that time frame to do the video call. But I think the guy who basically says the commissioner got what he deserved at the funeral, and Bruce is just standing next to him while he's talking. That, I think, is one of the Riddler's goons, just without the mask on. So I was wondering if the guy that Bruce noticed up toward the top of the building was just one of the goons, maybe, that was watching over everything, maybe radioing the Riddler what's going on.
Yeah. I'm making sure that everything falls into plan.
Yeah. Basically. So I got a couple of nicknames for this group of criminals that are working for Riddler, just to be trying to be comedic here, because the Riddler's all about smarts and these guys are snipers. I decided to call them sharpshooters.
Okay, I like it.
Riddler and the sharpshooters. That's one thing. And then going along with my joke from earlier, these guys are Team Edward. Just because, they're all about Edward Nashton, but just that, I don't know. I just thought that was just that could be such a funny thing. Just I could see memes coming out of that or something.
Yeah.
Or just
see, that was another thing that I didn't piece together, and then now that you make a joke about it, I'm like, yeah, I see it.
I'm just imagining Bruce Batman punching him and he's saying, "Team Jacob."
So I'm saying vengeance.
Okay, this one might get you into some trouble, so I'll try to navigate this carefully.
Okay.
How thirsty did the one Catwoman scene make you? Where she's in the apartment.
Oh, that scene. Yeah. Definitely made the cake moist. Just, yeah. She is good looking. I do think she the way she walked, she definitely had the walk down. But I still think the original one still does it for me.
Wait, are we talking about the same scene? Because I'm talking about the scene in the kitchen with Batman, because she's drinking a big glass of milk in that scene.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the part where she was changing. My bad. I thought that's the where you see her.
I set a trap and you fell for it gloriously.
Yeah. I thought that's what you were talking about. I was like, oh yeah, thirsty, yeah, making the cake moist, but that part was just drinking the milk, yeah.
I was like, damn, I could use some milk right now. I don't drink milk every day. It's not school anymore. My bones are probably shit at this point.
I can't. I just can't do milk anymore. I can't stand the way it tastes. And if I drink it now, it's gotta be with cereal.
Yeah, or some syrup.
Yeah.
Okay, but so you think that this goes on with it? It's kind of a question, but
okay.
I mean, I do think that she is one of the best Catwoman performances we've gotten. Did you say Michelle Pfeiffer is, you think, your favorite, or which one did you say?
I still Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway. Okay.
I mean, I feel like all the people that's played Catwoman has done really good. But that scene, like how Anne Hathaway acted, I thought was really good.
Yeah.
I thought that's why I considered her the best.
Something that I thought was interesting in Matt Reeves' The Batman is how she works together with Batman, like as a spy for him. We haven't even talked about the contact lenses.
Yeah, that's some cool tech right there.
That is one of the coolest things I've ever seen in a movie. Just imagining having a miniature camera in each eye and like recording everything you see, and then him having all that as video files to go back and research later and miss all these old details he might have missed. He can go back and look at it. Like, I can't remember if that's ever happened in a comic book or not, but I was like, that's genius.
Yeah.
Like, why have I never thought of somebody doing that before?
Yeah, that was definitely some of like the best tech I think I have seen on screen of what Batman has, because he can pretty much have about anything you could think of.
Yeah.
And nobody's thought of that yet, and that's literally just like a video camera, like in a contact lens.
Yeah, and just like having her go in and spy for him using those contact lenses, like that was really clever, because it has like the Face ID thing like phones do, where he could run the faces through a database and instantly know who everyone she saw was. Like that was cool. And then later on in the movie, like she goes off on her own and again trying to figure out what happened to her friend that, spoilers, ended up getting murdered. But whenever later in the apartment, I can't remember exactly what happens right before this, but you see Batman looking through the lens that she has, like it's still working camera.
Yeah, it's like dark, like she's got it covered or something.
A cat's like trying to lick it. I remember that part because I thought that was funny. But then she just like looks in and you can see her and she's like, "Can you see me? Can we meet?" I'm just like, and he can I think she still had the earpiece too, if I remember right.
She never gave the earpiece back.
But I was just like, that's such an inventive way of telling a Batman story that I'd never really thought about. Just him. I don't remember if Catwoman's ever worked as like an informant for Batman before, but that's cool. And then then it's reincorporated later where they.
Yeah, Catwoman's a very solo type of character, so to see her actually really, really work with somebody like that was pretty cool.
Yeah. One negative I have with this movie is that Andy Serkis's Alfred is amazing, but he does not get enough screen time.
Yeah, I agree. He definitely deserved a lot more screen time. It was, I was actually unexpected to see him play as like an Alfred, because He's just, I mean, he's such a good actor, so to see him play that type of part's really cool.
And he's a much younger version of Alfred than we normally see, because I think in the novel they mention that whenever Bruce is like 17, Alfred is in his 40s. So in this, he's only like 50s, maybe. So it's not like he's really a young Alfred. Yeah. I think he has the cane because he had some kind of injury in the service, maybe.
And for some people who don't know who he is, I mean, he's played Gollum in Lord of the Rings. And
it's cool to see him actually be an actor, not just a CGI character like he normally plays.
And he also played Caesar in the Planet of the Apes movies. Another thing that Matt Reeves directed.
Yeah, he kept Andy Serkis and Michael Giacchino, brought them from the last 2 Ape movies to this.
I think it would have been really cool to see him teach Bruce how to fight.
Yeah, like a flashback or something.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be very long, just, him practicing something, him showing him, tactics or something.
Yeah, and it can be really quick. Like, if you guys have seen the Hawkeye show on Disney+, the intro to that is basically like the girl, Kate Bishop's backstory, told visually, her training with bows and arrows and stuff. You could literally do something as simple as that, just with Alfred and Bruce, like maybe from a distance, just them sparring, and because they do that in the novel, where it's like he's been away, like Bruce has been away from school at boarding school, and then he comes back, and it's the first time that he and Alfred, because they also like work out together too, but they got the mats out and they're ready to spar, and Bruce is like, I'm just saying I might be a little bit rusty, and then like a minute later Alfred has him on the ground and he's like, I think you might be right.
Yeah, that's cool.
If you want to see more of that, it is at least in the novel, so that you get a little bit of it. But I hope in the sequel, since Alfred is confirmed to be alive, thank God, because I thought, like, when the explosion happened, I was like, oh, don't kill him.
Right.
Like, no, that's not okay. That you've given him so little.
You gotta give him some more screen time before you kill him like that. Come on now.
Yeah.
Can't do my boy like that.
Yeah. I just want to see more of Andy Serkis, Alfred.
Yeah, hopefully we see a lot more of him if we get another one.
We're thinking probably when we get another one.
Yeah, right.
It's a pretty safe bet at this point. Because, I mean, even though it's not done like Spider-Man No Way Home money, it has, I think it made its budget back in a weekend, and the critical score is amazing for it, so I think that's a pretty safe bet. We're going to get more stuff. Let's see. I already mentioned in this movie Batman and Gordon's relationship, I think, being best explored than it's ever been. So I really like that. An interesting thing, just there's a little bit more about what's in the prequel novel that is something I didn't expect from a Batman story, is whenever Bruce is 17, you actually, the Batmobile that he has in the movie, it actually goes into him like working on that car, turning it into a speed machine. And when he's doing that, he actually gets into street racing.
That's cool.
So I'm just like, it's like Batman mixed with Fast and Furious, like the first movie.
Yeah.
Because there's this.
That's just what we need now. Going from into space to the Batman.
I'd be all for it. Like, I just imagine the Batmobile driving next to Dom and all that. I think that'd be
See
a lot of fun.
you again.
On that note, the ending of this movie with Catwoman and the motorcycle, and it's literally Furious 7's ending with motorcycle.
Oh, yep, it is.
I was like, I hope she doesn't die like Paul Walker did.
Yeah, something doesn't happen.
Okay, and about the Fast and Furious thing, you know how Bruce Wayne sometimes, like, he puts on disguises and he has different personas? the name that he chooses when he goes undercover and he's a street racer is Paul. And he's literally like being the Brian O'Connor character because he's the outsider in the street racing game. I'm just like, book, you're not helping me here.
Yeah.
You're just making the case more and more.
It's not how you stand by a car, it's how you drive it.
Okay, so talking about this, just a couple of things. I'm not sure that, like, I find the Alfred thing kind of as a negative, that he doesn't get enough screen time. I've seen a lot of debate about the ending to this movie. Like, it's not like the length necessarily. It's like maybe some discrepancy because of the editing choices. We're not entirely sure like what happens when we're seeing all these flashes of different things. Like, is Gotham still flooded at the end?
Yeah, because in my opinion, so the camera pans to the Penguin, he's like looking out, and right before it does that, like there's still water out there. Then it pans to him, and it's still the same sunrise. That's what made me think that it was. Maybe it's not. I don't know, but that was.
Well, it's the Catwoman scene in the cemetery that people they're throwing
water.
Yeah, it's throwing everyone off, kind of
like
including
really
me.
Far outside of the city, though. Do you think the water would reach that? Well, yeah, probably.
I don't know because I don't know exactly where the cemetery is in Gotham, so it's not easy for me to figure out like if that makes sense or not. But just something I wanted to mention because that is kind of questionable, like how bad the flooding is, like how widespread it is it still as big of a thing or not?
Yeah, because it seemed like he was driving back into the city at that point, and I didn't see him driving through water. Huh. Yeah, that's something I never noticed.
It's not necessarily a negative. It's something kind of interesting that I don't know if it's inconsistent or not, or if it's. Maybe Matt Reeves will tweet about this in a few days and say the Gotham is still flooded. We just wanted to shoot that scene in the cemetery. Talking about like us talking about things and things coming true though. You mentioned Obi-Wan in our last video.
Yeah.
And then the Obi-Wan trailer drops this week.
Yeah.
So let's just try to experiment and do this again. Thor: Love and Thunder. Please give us a trailer.
Yeah, we need it faster than you guys are saying it's going to come out.
Yeah, we know that these things are coming out. Just please release a trailer.
Yeah. Yeah, that is ironic. Because now that I think of that, yeah.
I know it's coincidence and all, but it's just like you just mention Obi-Wan casually in a video, and then a few days later the trailer's like, hello there.
Hello there.
Okay, and this was not my observation. This is James Rolfe, who's from Cinemasker, Angry Video Game Nerd. Okay. He did this observation, and I think it's really clever, and I didn't notice it about this movie. This is the first time since the 1966 Batman movie it's a movie that has the Riddler, the Penguin, Catwoman, and Joker in it.
Okay, yeah.
And I had never even thought of that.
Yeah, it wasn't something I never really thought of either.
On that topic, though, what did you think of this Joker, this proto-Joker, pre-Joker that we're seeing?
I liked him. I kind of liked him. I don't want to say I didn't like him. I didn't get enough screen time to really just be like, oh, he's the best Joker ever. Like, I didn't really get enough out of it to really say how much I liked him. But hopefully, if we get another one, then Matt Reeves will push that Joker universe some more.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad that it's not connected to the Joaquin Joker movie because I think it frees him up to do a lot more stuff.
Yeah, it does.
So
I feel like that guy's vision and his vision might
not go well.
Yeah.
But the actor that is playing the Joker, because they revealed who it was. I don't remember how you say his last name. It's Barry His last name is Keoghan, something like that. He's a really good actor. He plays like some really out there characters. Like he was in Killing of the Sacred Deer, where he's like kind of a mentally unstable dude in it.
I can't think of who he is.
He's dark-headed. He's got dark eyes, kind of a big nose. His hairline's always kind of weird. Look, he always has kind of a weird hairdo. He's in from last year. He was in 2 movies I saw. The Green Knight. He's the thief in the woods that the main character meets, and he's kind of dodgy in that movie, which I like, because he's kind of playing like a nice guy at first, and then he robs the dude blind.
Okay.
So that was interesting, and he's in the Marvel movie Eternals as one of the immortal characters from November.
I did like that, at least when they showed him, that they didn't show too much of him. Like they showed you enough to where it made you like what you were eating, but you didn't overeat on what you were seeing, because you didn't want to just have too many on-screen bad guys, because there's just too much, and you don't need that. And I think that's another moment that Matt Reeves knew exactly what he was doing when, he showed it.
It's like a free sample.
Yeah.
And then stay around for the next couple movies.
Sample?
So he actually does show up and play a bigger role.
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm trying to remember what exactly this guy has, like a condition, not exactly like Joaquin's character had. Like Joaquin had the uncontrollable laughter disease, or he could, like, it just is like high stress levels or something, he just start laughing. This guy has some kind of defect where he's like constantly smiling of some kind.
Yeah, it looked like you could kind of see it through that little square. Like you could just see it a little bit.
I think it may be similar to what happened to Jack Nicholson's character, and because he tries to shoot Batman, the bullet ricochets and it goes through his face, and it like severs the nerves. So whenever they sew him back together, he's got the permanent smile. It might be something like that, even though I don't think it's like an injury. I think it's just some kind of weird facial tick or something that he has, that it's always in a smile.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he got his scars, or
And I don't think that he's not fully fledged Joker yet. He's just a guy, an inmate in Arkham. And then I think if he's going to escape eventually, and then we might get the acid bleaching, like Killing Joke type intro to the character. If they go that route, he may be a completely different take on Joker. But that's an interesting idea that they could do. I like it when they set up a character and you know that they have a bigger story that is probably coming in the future. Like with the Flash TV show, they introduce a character like as a normal person, and then like the event that caused all the superhumans to come out, like that created all the superhumans happen. Like you know what they were like as people, and then they come back into the storyline and they have superpowers.
Okay.
Or like they've gone through a significant change, so you understand like how they're different now. I think that's kind of what they're doing with Joker, where it's like you kind of get what he's about right now, but then something big is going to happen to him where he becomes like comic booky Joker.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that's a smart way to play it. Not, like you said, not showing too much, just a little taste of it. Talking about our predictions. Gil Coulson, the attorney, the district attorney character, gets killed by the Riddler with the bomb. Job opening. I'm just saying, we're probably going to see Harvey Dent maybe in the next movie.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
And if they do that, I hope that they have Harvey Dent, like him as Harvey Dent for that movie, and then maybe in the sequel he turns into Two-Face. Because they're planting all these seeds, then they're just waiting to see what grows out of them.
What I'm going to be really mad is how successful this one was, and we don't get another one. Because sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
I'm going to be really pissed off if that happens.
Yeah. That I think that's about my list, honestly.
Okay.
I do have a fan theory that I've crafted between the first viewing that we had and this viewing, but I think we'll break for just a little bit, and then we'll come back and I'll explain.
Okay.
I've got visual aid and everything for my theory about the Riddler's like motivation with this movie, and just something that there were just certain things that stuck out to me, like maybe with the visuals of the movie, that what they were going for. But yeah, we'll take a little break, and then we'll come back and just finish it off with my crazy ramblings for a few minutes.
Okay.
But sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so we'll be back in just a little bit.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this weird ramble video that I'm about to do. But with this being a movie about the Riddler, of course I have fan theories about his ideology and that kind of thing. And Dylan and I have a special message for everybody after the video. If you don't want to listen to my insane rambling, I'll put a timestamp to where you can skip it. But for those of you who are into weird stuff, this is, I think, kind of fun.
Okay.
So I've compiled this. Dylan, if you wouldn't mind to help me with visual aid. And I'm calling this Riddler's Holy War Theory. And this is partially informed by me reading the backstory novel of Riddler, where he lived in the orphanage and he sang in the church choir there. It makes me think that the Riddler, his sense of morality comes from kind of a Christian perspective.
Okay.
Like a twisted take on it, because also one of the influences to this movie was the movie Seven. Okay. Which the villain in that is morally motivated, but to a psychotic degree. So the idea that I had was that when the first time we saw this movie, I had this feeling in the back of my head that there was a connection that I was starting to make between all the murders that he commits and like what the symbolism behind them might be. And it wasn't until we watched it today for the second time that it finally hit me, like why I was thinking something biblical was kind of reminding me of that. But when you look at his victims, you see there are 4 main victims that he has. It made me realize that his plan and the climax of the movie is similar to the book of Revelation and the Bible. Okay. And I don't know why this theory came into my head, like after watching it today, but I couldn't escape it. Like I just kept thinking about all the similarities here. Yeah. So, like with Revelation, it kind of means like just the truth being revealed, which is kind of Riddler's motif, is just taking the cover up and unmasking everything, and revealing it to the public. And going along with the Revelation theory, it starts out, well, I'll do a little intro to the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse for those who don't know it. There is conquest, war, famine, and death. And each of these victims that the Riddler kills, they correlate to these in kind of an interesting way. So the first victim is Mayor Mitchell, who's the person he kills in the very beginning of the movie, and you see his face duct taped in the trailer with the "No More Lies" on there. So him being first is interesting because of conquest being first, and conquest, it's like taking over other lands and ruling over it. And with him being the mayor, he's like the highest political leader of the city. And so him killing him first is kind of interesting, as it's like he's starting from the top and like cutting down all the people that are corrupt. So that started the wheels turning, and then I looked at the other murders that he did, and he did Commissioner Savage as the second murder with the rat cage, and that they eat him alive, basically. And I looked, and then I thought about what the next horseman is, which is war. And the police commissioner is kind of like the general leading the war on crime in a city. So it's like he took out the king, then he took out the general, and I was like, okay, so there's a little bit of correlation between those two. And then we move on to the third victim, which is District Attorney Coulson, who we see in the movie, like when Catwoman is working undercover for Batman, and she's basically interrogating him, but he's drugged, so he doesn't know like that she's manipulating him. But he's a drug addict, and the next horseman is famine or disease. Sometimes it's called disease, but the drugs trade in Gotham is like a sickness that he is perpetuating throughout the city. And Riddler, like, killing him because he was one of the people that was protecting all of the drug trade and everything. It's like trying to take out the infected monkey, so to speak, to stop the spread of the plague. I just think that I was like, okay, so maybe there's a theme going on between all of this. And then we get to the final horseman, which is death. And then we get to something interesting, because if you look at it in two different ways, what the Riddler's plan was, his next victim was supposed to be Bruce Wayne. And if we've seen the movie, we know that didn't happen. And the bomb actually hit Alfred and it hospitalized him instead. But when you think about Bruce Wayne, like, the society thinks about him, they remember the death of his parents. And like, he wasn't really a public figure until that happened. So it's like all of his fame and everything came from death. So that's one interpretation, like if the Riddler's plan had gone the way it was going to. The other thing that ends up happening is Falcone. I think that his murder by the Riddler actually represents the one that represents death, because everyone who comes into contact with Falcone basically ends up dead. Because you have Bruce's parents being involved with him, leading to their murder. You have him sleeping with Selina's mother, conceiving her, and then later killing her mother. So it's like, and then him working like with the renewal funds and corrupting it, and it ended up causing the death of so many different orphans at the orphanage. So it's like everything that he did led to death. And I just thought, like, I was like, wait a minute, there's something going on here. Like I thought I was just being crazy for the first couple of them, but then it kept going. I was just thinking, like, how far does this like little thread go that I want to keep pulling on this idea? And then me think about like the Book of Revelations and the end of the world and the Bible. You remember, like, the seas will boil, fire will fall from the sky, and all this imagery. And Dylan, just tell me, what happens to the climax of this movie?
Everything. So you got bombs going off, you got flooding, people rioting. That's about all I got off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, yes, the flooding. That was the first thing that made me think, oh, okay, so maybe there's another connection there with the flooding. But it goes a bit further than that, though, because, like, when he corrals everybody into Gotham Square Garden, then he has all the snipers there.
Okay, yeah.
That are going to start picking people off, raining fire on them.
Yeah.
So it's like the flood, the boiling ocean, like killing off a lot of things, and then fire from above, fire from the sky, starting to kill off people too. And then even more with that imagery, you see it in the trailer when Batman blows up the roof and falls down. There's literally fire raining from the sky, from above. So I was like, okay, maybe that's some biblical stuff too to go along with this. Yeah. And then the idea, like later on, whenever Batman, like whenever he ignites the flare and is leading everybody to safety after everything they've taken care of all of the Riddler's plan, it makes me think of, I've always kind of considered Batman like an avenging angel. Yeah. Like an angel of justice type thing. And do you remember with Eden, I don't know if you've read Paradise Lost, but there is a visual of the archangels are the guardians of Eden, and they wield flaming swords.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I know that.
And I'm just thinking Batman with the flare leading everyone to salvation.
I got you, okay.
It's like an archangel with a flaming sword leading everyone to a new Eden out of the apocalypse.
Yeah. That's cool.
I mean, just, I know I may sound like insane and rambling, but just looking at the introduction to Riddler in the book, he's the boy in the choir, and he's singing, and his music motif is Ave Maria throughout the whole movie. So there's like Christian undertones there. And looking at his symbol, actually, you like it to me, like it could mean a couple things. It could mean a target, like that he's targeting these people because of the corruption and everything. But I just thought, isn't that a cross?
Yeah, it kind of looks like one.
I mean, with his own insignia inside of it, but it's like...
Yeah, I see it.
I was like...
I didn't see it at first until you said something.
But I was just thinking, that's kind of interesting. Yeah. You know, that like from his background, that... I mean, I don't know if it never really says if he's a devout Christian or anything. Yeah. Or if Christianity is what motivated his crimes. But it goes back to Seven being an influence of this movie, and John Doe, and that movie being like killing people because of their sins. It just a lot of that seemed to line up with me at least.
Yeah, I definitely didn't see that much into it, but that's really cool.
And it's weird because like I don't watch something and like look for biblical symbolism and stuff, but this movie had like a lot of little things that made me think that this painting I've always appreciated, with the depiction of the horsemen and everything. It just the way the movie is shot in certain ways, and the hopeful ending being like you could even make kind of a metaphor with him with the helicopters, like getting people out of there as the rapture, even like rapturing them out of the damned world, basically. Like, I mean, I think you could make a lot more stuff than what I'm saying, but this is like just me in an afternoon, like putting it all together. You got any like Christian type things that you saw in the movie, or that you maybe didn't think about until now?
No, I just didn't think that far into it. This is definitely very cool and elaborate, but no, I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, and it kind of goes into the idea that maybe, I don't know if it's ever been stated in the comics, but I always thought the Riddler had a god complex because he always has to prove that he is better, like he's smarter than everyone else, that he knows best and that kind of thing. So I just think that character trait kind of tying into his plan in this movie maybe it's kind of like him playing God for this city and trying to mold it the way that he thinks it should be done. And you could even go further in saying that his followers with the sniper rifles at the end are his horsemen. Because even in his absence, when he's in the asylum, he still set things in motion. There's still people doing things in his will. So, have I gone crazy, audience? Please let me know if I have. But I just wanted to draw your attention to this stuff because I don't think Matt Reeves was maybe necessarily saying all this, but it was just my interpretation of certain imagery and the story.
And let us know what you guys think in the comments on this theory.
It's I think that's about everything I had about the theory. Unless you got anything else, Dylan, you want to say?
No. This was all your theory, man.
Yeah, I didn't really tell him anything about this. He's just rolling with the punches. So, what was it we wanted to tell our audience, Dylan, before we left? We had a special message, right?
I feel like we should really. Because we both really like this movie. There's a lot of people being on the fence about backing Robert Pattinson. And I just want to stand by what I said. I think he was a very good Batman, and he did really good. And he definitely deserves that credit.
Yes.
And I don't care what people think and what they say. It's just my opinion. I just think that they need to choose a side. You either like him or you don't. And I think it's dumb to compare his acting from something that he did a long time ago. I just think that that's dumb. It's like, why? He was very young in Twilight, and it wasn't his idea to make himself sparkly. So that's just dumb.
That's Stephanie Meyer's problem.
Yeah.
And that was over a decade ago. People need to move on with their lives.
And imagine being the actor in that movie and given that script. Yeah. I mean, for any of those actors, now some were good, yes, some were bad, but I couldn't imagine somebody giving me that script and trying to figure that out myself.
Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
I would not want anything to do with something like that.
And most of them from that movie have came very far from that.
Yes. Kristen Stewart is in the new Spencer movie where she plays Princess Diana. She is really... Is she good in that? Yeah, I almost didn't recognize her. Okay. I don't think it was. I think it's just the way she's shot and like the hair and style and everything that's different.
Yeah.
But she kind of completely transformed for that role. Yeah. And I really respect her for doing that because I know her and Robert Pattinson have both gotten into really good acting roles in the last few years, but. That's the last one that I think that I've seen Kristen Stewart in that I was I was blown away by that movie.
Yeah, so audience, when you go and see this movie, try not to think about Twilight when you watch it because, this isn't the one and only actor that's done a bad movie and then went into another movie and then did good.
Yeah.
Like Michael Keaton was doing Mr. Mom. And went to Batman, that's two different characters, I wish that's considered like a good movie, but some people thought it was dumb, and then when he became Batman, they were just like, well, he can't do it because he was in Mr. Mom.
Yeah, and Christian Bale in 2004, he did the movie The Machinist. If you guys have ever seen that, his body transformation in that is unnerving.
Yeah.
How skeletal and creepy he looks.
Yeah, he had to gain 250 pounds worth of muscle for him to come back as Batman. And that's crazy.
Yeah. I'm just going to say we stand with Robert Pattinson and all the actors who may be getting criticized unfairly in all these roles.
Yeah.
And, I do want to push back a little bit on a criticism of him as Batman or as Bruce Wayne. A lot of people don't like that he's not the playboy billionaire Bruce Wayne. And maybe it's just me, but I'm kind of sick of that, honestly. Yeah. I think that Bale did a really good job with it. I think Batfleck did a little bit with it that I appreciated. But there can be other versions of Batman. It doesn't all have to be this exact like idea of what Batman is.
Yeah, and we know what Bruce Wayne is, and we know what Batman is, but I don't think we've ever had that much consistency in a movie of him just being Batman almost the entire time, like we see in this one.
Yeah, and like we were talking earlier, Michael Keaton, his Bruce Wayne is not the stereotypical like Bruce Wayne that we see nowadays.
Yeah,
because he's a Tim Burton protagonist, so he's a pasty weirdo that nobody understands.
Yeah,
but he still gets with a couple of very attractive women, but it's not like he's going out like parading it. It's like an intensely personal thing with him. And I think Pattinson does that in this movie. In the novel Prequel, there's actually a character that he doesn't have a romance with her, but he likes her, and she kind of likes him when they were teenagers. And she's a street racer that he races with, and they kind of have a nice chemistry. I think that feels natural. It's not him putting. I mean, he is putting on an act because he says his name is Paul, and he's just an up and coming street racer. But it's just he's so subdued that it feels normal. It feels like if a person actually was Batman, that this is what they'd be like.
Yeah.
Or they're subdued and they don't socialize much.
I thought it was really neat that we're not the only ones that are backing Robert. Also, Christian Bale said that he did absolutely amazing and that he was proud of him. And I thought that was really cool to see another actor brag on somebody that did the same character that they did.
Yeah. And something that I think is, I don't know if any other Batman has really touched on this. Maybe the first Burton did, but it's like Bruce Wayne has, because of his trauma and like the way he's like raised himself to become a vigilante hero, like he doesn't connect with people.
Right, he's gonna be a little socially awkward.
He can't really play normal 100%. And that's something I appreciate with Pattinson too, because he has chemistry with Dex, is the character's name in the book. Like that's her nickname. He has pretty natural chemistry with her, but he doesn't really he can't really process it because he knows he likes her, but he doesn't know how to express it and he knows that he can't really because it's like a distraction from what he's doing. And same way with Catwoman in this movie. I think some people are saying that they don't have any chemistry, and I don't think that's true at all.
I don't know where they're getting that from.
I think it's interesting that he is awkward. He doesn't really know how to speak in certain situations. He's not a very talkative person, and I don't think you would be if your parents got killed in an alley in front of you.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that's an interesting take for Batman, and I don't think that he has to become the playboy character that everyone's saying that he should be, because it's a different interpretation. I think they've got every artistic license to do something different like that.
It was good to see something different.
Yeah. And I mean, and maybe it's just, I'll call this Iron Man fatigue, but because we saw so much of Iron Man in the MCU, even though he wasn't a playboy by the end of it because he ended up getting married and having a kid, but the smarmy, douchey, rich guy, I've just really gotten sick of that trope. He
was that same character in all those movies constantly.
Yeah. And I do not want Batman to turn into that. Yeah. That's because he's never been a quip machine like Iron Man is, but it's just it wears on my nerves whenever someone is that smarmy all the time, and I'm like, do you have a genuine conversation ever with anyone? And that's one word I would describe this Batman take is genuine. It feels like a real person that Rob is bringing to life, and I really respect that. They say that like realism, like they wanted to do like a realistic take on Batman. At least in my opinion, this is a realistic Bruce Wayne, where he's got a lot of issues that he has to work through.
And he's still young too.
Yeah, I mean he's like 30 maybe, he's been doing this for 2 years in the movie, but that's still pretty young because in the comics and stuff he's Batman for decades. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I think people just need to chill out about it, like just let Matt Reeves and him make another movie and then maybe judge like character progression and that kind of thing at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know telling the internet to calm down is not gonna do anything.
Right. Yeah, we're just throwing gasoline on the fire now, but we're at least just stating that we back his acting essentially as being the Batman.
Yeah. And we didn't talk about it earlier, but you know about the Penguin getting his own show, right, on HBO Max?
A little bit. Heard a little bit about it.
Yeah. So I think it's cool that they're diversifying this take on Batman too, that we get to see from Penguin's perspective in one show, and then they're doing another show that's like a combination of an Arkham Asylum series and with the Gotham City Police Department. I think both of those would be really interesting takes on this Gotham.
I think I'll actually have to finally subscribe to HBO Max so I can actually watch all of this.
Yeah, and I like it seems to be DC's strategy now that they're diversifying like that because of the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker being a spinoff. I think that's a good strategy, and I don't know if Robert Pattinson's going to ever show up in any of those series, but
hope so.
It'd be kind of cool, just a little bit, not overkill, just and it'd be a good like in between when they're making the movies. They could be like an in-between thing that they do, kind of like what the Marvel movies are doing with the Marvel TV shows, like miniseries that are happening in the same universe, just with different characters and that kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to that stuff, and I want to see more Batman movies with Pattinson and with Matt Reeves.
Yeah, I hope to see more.
Yeah. So if you're still with us, I hope you've seen the movie. Otherwise, we've spoiled a lot of the big things. But I hope you guys loved the movie. We did. As you can tell, we've been talking for 3 hours about this thing, basically. And we'll be up for watching it again, like any day of the week. I think I could watch this Batman. Any day of the week, I have 3 hours to kill anyway.
Yeah.
Because that's, again, one of my only criticisms is it's a little too long.
Yeah.
But hope you guys enjoyed our Batman opinions, and tell us whether we're right or wrong about anything in the comments or on my Twitter, whatever. Just, if you don't like it, come at me. I don't care.
Yeah, and thanks for watching.
Yeah. So, and Dylan may be doing something at some point in the future. If he does end up doing anything like this, I think I might be on his stuff too. So I'll let y'all know if and when that happens. I'll spread the word because
Thanks, man.
because he so graciously spread the word on my videos. So I want to try to help him out. And we need to get out of here because it is getting really cold. It is nighttime now, as you can see. But before we go, do you guys think that this looks like the lighting in Carmine Falcone's elevator? To anyone else that's seen the movie?
It does. Yeah.
I just kind of noticed that when we came back. I was like, oh, that's cool lighting. I like that.
Yeah. It's vibing.
Yeah. So, anyways, thanks for spending so much time with us. We've probably been talking about this movie like for the runtime of this movie.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So we'll try to wrap things up here. But again, thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks again.
Subscribe, and I'll let you know about anything Dylan does in the future. But thanks again, and if you like the movie, watch it again. That's what I'm gonna do.